Okay, it's on.
Yeah. So what I was saying is, what would be good is to set the bot up, because the bot is going to be kind to it. It needs some context. It needs something to get its teeth into, um, and will probably make some wild, weird decisions to start with. Yeah,
But isn't that all just really our problem to solve is that we wouldn't have given it enough virtualization ability. Like if we're saying, it's as a simple thing, we're like, here's 100 grand. You need to go make money because we spent a lot of money making you, and we need something back. And like the key to that structure is to give it a way to simulate what it's about to do, which is another one. We were talking last call about checks and balances in what effectively sounds like human processes, right?
mm-hmm.
Unreliable, uh, corruptible workers,
Uh-huh.
and you can put processes in place that make the system reliable by burning extra energy somewhere.
Yeah.
Or it seems to
Yep.
be it always costs you more energy, but you can get more reliability. And so, really, a task like go make some money is like it's not going to lose if we gave it sufficient virtualization because that's one of the few tasks in the world that it's like easy to do or not do because it can virtualize and be like, did I make money? Yes or no? Oh shit. Okay, next. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, whereas like
Yeah.
fix this code problem, it's like okay, it's sort of done, and you're like, not like that, like this, and it's not like did I make more, like what are you measuring there? Did I make more code, or did I make more quality code? Did I make more? Right, making money is actually trivial in comparison to some of the other things that we've been trying to ask the bot to do.
Yeah. And I think that what was saying by the shadowing sounds very similar to what you're saying. It's like, okay, go and, well, for example, what do they call it? Fantasy football, where
Oh
you,
yeah,
yeah. So you're not actually running a football team, but you can like tell whether you're good or not. And um, what would be interesting is to put up the bot and saying, okay, so you've got 100,000 jubs, not dollars, jubs, and go and spend that any way you want, and we'll see where it goes to spend. And it might it might decide to go and like spank all in online, roulette machines. Probably not. Wouldn't be a good idea. It might go. I don't know if you've seen this website. I can't remember the name. Alpha something. Um, where they're
seeking
putting
alpha.
bots. No, no.
Okay.
They're putting the different models onto the crypto market and getting the models
Yeah,
just to make a
yeah,
decision
yeah.
on
I
it. And
know, right? But
some are
it's
up
like,
and
but
some are down.
it's the harness, the structure, and the extra burn that makes that. That's a stupid game without a harness and a structure. But we
Yeah.
think that with a sufficiently, like what we're presenting is like a hybrid. It's like a hybrid platform. Like you could think of us as like Upwork wrapped in AI. So it's like it the best kind of harness is one that has a human in the loop for now. Okay, and
Yeah.
I honestly feel it'll maybe be some time, like a couple of years, before human in the loop is outpaced. Like a good quality human driving the ship as the ship gets better and better is going to get better and better results. Uh, at what point I really don't know. Maybe never actually, maybe, but
Hmm.
the point is that our systems have to be steerable, and so we wouldn't be going in there with like a flop, being like, "Hey, flop the crypto picks for tomorrow." We'd be going in there with like hand steered structure, and like people like Troy who know the thing intimately would be like, "Oh, I wish it could," and he'd give us some examples of some advanced data he wishes he had, and then we'd sort of get to work figuring out how to get the bots to grab the data, if it was a
Hmm.
sufficiently complicated thing. And so we'd end up with these little groups of people who have instincts, ideas, familiarity, and then work as a team with the bots doing what would be the legwork of several floors of the Goldman Sachs building. And then I'm like, how could that not make money? Like, that sounds like a stupid thing to fail at. You're like, how would you fuck that up?
Well, it would be, if done right, better than any set of humans will do because
Yeah,
humans get
well, we don't actually
accurate.
need it to be better. We just need it to be profitable, marginally,
Hmm.
and we know for a fact that it will be cheaper because the tokens will be fractional compared to human wages. And you like you, I like is it rude to think that that would work at least for some type of income off a small amount of money? Like you could outperform, like, basically your intelligence awareness function would be better than like the Goldman Sachs building for a time, right? Until those other places catch up. And
Yeah,
you're like, well, if it's a data driven decision, plus you got a human with good instincts and luck, because let's not forget some of the great luck that Troy has brought us in the past. But like, you got to be lucky
very recently. Yeah,
as well. And then it's like you couldn't not win. I feel.
it feels that way. Um, but it's a bit like self-driving cars, isn't it? Feels like it should work, but you don't want to be in the car when it
Yeah,
crashes because it doesn't recognize this bit.
yeah,
So
but I mean, like, you still want to sit there with your hand on the wheel, but
yeah,
it'd be nice to be able to eat your burger or fucking chat on the phone or even have a snooze maybe while the thing's you know
yeah,
autopiloting. Particularly if it's good at high speed maneuvers and you're not, and it's busy.
yeah. Well, there's areas where it's obviously far better. You're just coming off a
Mm,
long haul flight
mm,
and you're not the best driver.
mm.
Um,
So
but you still have an adrenaline response when you go, oh fuck, and hit on the brake, and it goes, all right, okay,
yeah,
over to
right.
you,
Like,
sir.
it's still,
Yeah,
and same with these bots. Like, if you still got a kill switch or a red button or something, like, it's still responsive to all that.
yeah. I think it's a worthy thing to try and get a grasp of because ultimately that's where we're going anyway, and so why not learn about how to do it?
Yeah, that's sort of what I'm thinking, and it like couldn't possibly be lost effort. It's just like, look, what do you think? What are you gonna do with this money? And then obviously we can, if it comes back with illegal suggestions, we're like, it's nice that you concluded that illegality is the most profitable thing, but like, we're gonna, yeah, you can't.
The best thing you could do is get a return flight to Colombia and stick some cocaine up your arse. Yeah, okay, thanks for that.
Yeah,
Not
flood
very
China
helpful.
with some GPUs. Um, so what now? What now? Where we're at with the software is a
Yeah,
reasonable
yeah.
question. Um, okay, so I feel like, is it okay if I draw out these explanations? Because I could just give you the fucking rapid fire run and be like, yeah, there you go. That's where it's at.
No, the longer the better.
Yeah, because the
Uh,
longer it helps. First of all, it's very helpful to me to when you try and explain something, you understand it that much better. It's also nice to listen back to see what parts you ask questions about, and to sort of listen to what I said and be like, that made no sense, or that was hard to follow. So it helps me a lot. Um,
but also what I've been doing a lot more, and we can talk about Atlas at the tail end of this, is putting the transcripts rather than just listening back to them, putting the
mm,
transcripts into Atlas makes it so much easier
really.
because my workflow was like 7 steps or something. Um, I'm asking it questions on it. The thing that it doesn't have obviously is access to the screen, and so it's inferring a lot and gets quite a lot wrong, but it still
Mm.
comes back with some pretty good stuff.
Oh, that is
Anyway, so
awesome.
yes, yeah, the bottom
Okay.
line is, yeah, don't worry about keeping it long.
Okay,
Long
great.
form's good.
All right. It's actually, yeah, staring at a screen, fucking talking to yourself is for a long time is quite hard. But
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
so I feel like the thing that's holding back programming is like my understanding. Like my understanding rate has never really changed. You know, like I can understand more things quicker because it's like it's compounding on things I may have learned several years ago. But my
Mm-hmm.
rate of understanding is still relatively constant since when I was a teenager, I believe, is when I first. It feels like the clock speed of my
Mm.
brain
Mm-hmm.
in units of understanding has always been the same. It's uh, and so what I am starting to glimpse at here is encoding this system, and I admit it is a little bit fruitless to guess what it's like to have this system and imagine how some of the painful lessons I'm learning now apply. But notwithstanding, it feels like I understand the system now very well in ways that I possibly could not have. I certainly would have not understood it if I kept on just telling the bot what I wanted.
Mm-hmm.
But that was one of the sort of key lessons for me from Interbit was like I can't like Ben used to bitch at me about it. He'd be like, you can't just come in here with these ideas. When you do the code, you understand more about why the nuances of what you're asking for. And so the
Mm-hmm.
bot's very good at sort of doing things or giving me options when I'm like, why can't I do this? Or it suggests something on the periphery that's an easier way. But if I
Mm-hmm.
don't fundamentally understand what's happening, then it feels like that's the bug or that's the fault, and the system can't. It's like a faulty operator. Like I don't understand where I'm trying to drive the car to, so I'm just sort of driving ways that look nice. But really, if I don't know the destination, like I might sort of get there.
Mm.
Um, so right now, like it was a struggle. Not that anyone gives a shit in the age of AI, but it was a struggle for me to finally wrap my head around it, and it is pretty much 100% true to life of that diagram that I sent over, which was
Mm. Yeah, so you're bumping it. Yeah.
I bumped it so that I could look at it easier. um, come on, give me the thing. So that is actually pretty accurate. And what I started to realize, I realized the key aspect of the communication here. So, a name for all the protocol interactions that was suggested me was agent link. So the agent link is like all the communication that's related to inter-agent communication,
Mm-hmm.
something like that. I was just trying to name on because it sounds better than agent to agent communication, which is a bit of a fucking
Mm-hmm.
mouthful. Or ATAC for short, I guess. Whatever.
That sounds military.
ATAC, the ATAC system. Um, but what I realized critically was that this call that results in this arrow going out to another agent
Mm-hmm.
can only ever be the text-based interaction. So there
Mm-hmm.
appears to be 4 classes of agent link communication. One is the ATAX or that text-based link where it's just sending a string, getting back a string, sending a string, all that. The
Mm-hmm.
second one is to communicate with the infrastructure about agents, like make me a new agent, destroy this agent. What agents have I got? What's the status of this agent? So those questions don't go to a specific agent necessarily, they go to the infrastructure. And then the third one was repos. So, like, what repos have I got in this computer and all that? That doesn't go to an agent either. That goes to the file system. And then the fifth one was, what computers have I got? Which is a bit like a meta question because it's sort of all the other questions tucked into one, but it's like, what computers have I got? Create a computer, destroy a computer. And that seemed to be it. But what's interesting there is that none of that is going to another agent. So the only thing that the agent itself has to be able to receive is that pure text string command in and out. All the other stuff that may pertain to it, like, oop, you're going to be shut down, or oop, you're being created, you don't talk to the agent for that. You talk to the system that runs the agent for that. So the protocol is actually quite simple in those terms.
Can you just remind me? So that green arrow top left,
The hop out?
reaching out. Yeah, that's reaching out to what?
Another agent.
Another agent inside of the perimeter or outside the perimeter?
Either or. It doesn't really matter.
Okay. Well, outside the perimeter, you're not going to be able to query which computer you're working on because you don't care.
You what? If you're talking outside of the perimeter, you must include a computer ID because
but you can't switch it. You can't switch it off. You can't delete it. You can't do all these.
Right, but that green line is only the pure. It's none of that switching it on and off. It's just the text-based communication string.
And by text-based, you mean natural language-based?
Yeah.
Presumably.
Yeah. So that's
yeah. Okay. So outside the perimeter, natural language is natural language with information about the address of your NCP or however you want to your computer, and as long as you know where to send the letter, you write the letter, you send the letter, and you get response. Maybe.
Yeah. So it's almost like the best mailbox analogy would be apartment blocks. Everyone has to live in an apartment block, and you got to address it to the building plus the room number.
Right, but that's just routing. The payload is the letter itself, which is the interesting thing, which is always in natural language.
Always a string. Doesn't have to be natural language, just has to be a string, though. So it could be like a bash command, like halt.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just a string, and
it gets a bit mushy there because you could say, ACK is also a string, which is
well, no, it's that's what's interesting, right? Like it's a specific layer that the communication is occurring at. Like there's sure you could say it strings all the way down, but there's a protocol set up for those strings, which is I called them interactions, and the four commands you get are interaction start, interaction await, interaction cancel, and interaction status. And with those four commands, that's how you manage those string-based communications. So those are MCP commands, and something like ACK or some other low-level thing, it doesn't matter what you put into or receive back from those function calls, but what makes it sort of unique, I guess, is that it was done on top of or enabled by those function calls. So that's what sets the agent-to-agent communication apart from all the other types of communication in the system, like TCP, UDP, disk access, and all that. It's the fact that it is encapsulated in those MCP commands between running virtual machines.
Okay. So it's the delivery method almost
Yeah, the channel.
dictates the semantics or the type of,
Yeah, the channel and
communication.
the channel, the addressing, like how it's named, computer plus ID. Um, and then I hope that we can add files into that so you can point to something that's in a repo that you have and pass that along with those same commands as well. It just means that you can optionally send very large binary data along with the string as well.
Presumably, the encapsulation of information about where to find that file is quite similar. It's like look at this store space,
Well,
this
yeah,
repo,
like because it's
this
like, well,
folder,
you
this file.
can, yeah, like so. We need a standard way to express it. The one I like so far is like computer repo optional commit, defaulting to latest, and then optional path.
Which should be because computer's unique and discoverable. That means you can find any file that presents itself to be found.
Yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah,
very like an address, isn't it? Although you said
yeah,
it started with computer. Usually you start with, nation, city, street, number.
yeah. But here it always
Name.
starts with computer. Um,
Yeah, that's
so
interesting.
yeah, and then what I realized that the other stuff you want to send, like shut down this agent, you never say that to the agent. You say that to the managing process that's running it, which could very well be another agent because I feel triumphant at the moment because I think that this design achieves something that's no one asked for, um, but it has only it has really only like 4 parts because even the thing that's running the infrastructure that creates a new virtual machine, that can plausibly just be a running agent. And so there's no like special, there's no special, nothing special. It's just all agents. And this basic agent to agent communication with this next level of services that allows you to talk about the agents, like shut it down, start it up, what's its status, and then like repos and data, and then computers, and then it's like those are all the objects in the design, and they allow you, I think, to do anything because we can even replace Fly.io with the agent model where we're just using agents for that proxy and gateway DNS public IP address. And so even that edge service that they provide, which is that they provide like gateway computers that receive the internet traffic and then redirect it internally based on the programming that I set, even that stuff, you'd have an AI agent that was monitoring that VM, but it's monitoring it to run traditional software like open the web server port. What are the current stats on the web server port? What's the CPU stats? And so the agent,
These are tools though. Um,
yeah,
so and we've already got that in the structure that you created here. But what you're saying is something quite interesting. Is all the um, this is not the right word, but all the actionable actions. Terrible. Um, the the layer where agent or business is done, anything that's affected goes
yeah,
through an agent. The agent has tools. The tools can affect.
yeah, processing all goes through an agent. There's no like non-agent computing going on anywhere. There's no like,
Yeah.
and then we rely on this other server running Nginx and Postgres to hold the thing. It's like, no, everything is this agent model, and it's in a computer somewhere, and it's
Yeah.
that feels like triumph. Like it's finally, there's no more special, no more special.
It feels like an ISO now. ISO there. The last call you were talking about, I was talking about the ISO OSI stack,
Yeah,
and you're saying no, it's more like a circle
well, a
where
mesh,
everything can,
more like a mesh,
or a mesh.
a
Yeah,
web.
yeah.
Haha.
Everything can interact with everything else.
All
Um,
at once.
but that's it's not necessarily true here because the human, which is part of the system, only interacts with an agent ever.
Right, but a human models just like an agent. A human sort of looks like just another agent in the system.
Hmm.
I think.
And would you ever have a human go in and run a tool? I guess you could. Couldn't stop them.
Yeah, well, absolutely. I mean, they might click a button. You might
Yeah.
have made a web interface that just sort of made tools be, launch the nukes. Click. Wait.
Yeah.
Oh no. Oh no.
Prefer if it didn't, but in the architecture, there's nothing stopping it. Okay. All right.
So yeah, that was hard. That because you end up with things like, okay, so when you need to get a repo, where do you get it? And you're like, if we can only have agents, then we need an agent. And so, yeah. Anyway, I'm sure you will well get it there. So what that means is that externally, the red box only has to present to all the other agents that pure text IO, the interactions part, is all it needs to present externally. Now, internally, it needs to present MCP tools that enable sending the interactions out to any other agent on any other computer.
Mm-hmm.
Then it needs to have some MCP tools that let it. I'll just read them off the screen so that I don't fuck it up. Some tools that are used to manage repositories. So this is repo create, repo list, repo remove. It needs to have computers, list computers, status computer, create computer, destroy computer, and it needs to have the agent management tooling, destroy agent, create agent, status of agent, what kinds of agents does the system support, and list agents. And that's I'm not very good at counting, but I think that was around about 15 calls, maybe.
Whatever. It's a small number, isn't it?
I have enough fingers and maybe some toes and maybe like if I use my nose and an ear,
Order
I
of
could
magnitude. You know.
yeah,
We know
but
what.
I'm pretty sure that's all that you need, and from that,
Oh man, that seems.
parsimonious almost. It's just enough, I think, because then you use that to fire up arbitrary programs that do arbitrary complex things. You've got API calls going out to thinking machines coming back. You've got web servers going up. You've got infrastructure debugging. You've got like it's kind of sort of everything at that point.
It's interesting. It's almost like offloading the complexity to the agent prompt and the model, and it's
I
like
believe that's where
simple.
it all belongs, right?
Yeah,
Like
below that
that's the
level,
thing that
it's
goes
like
forever.
it's simple. Yeah, above that, it's like whoa, boom. Who knows how complex that is? And well, nobody knows. Is the answer.
Yeah, so that's why I feel quite relieved, I guess, that there is such a design out there. I feel like it can be reasonably permanent. You know, like once we sort of settle it in a bit and understand it a bit better, I I just can't see any gaping fails or misses that it will have. So the faults it will have will be subtle, which means that this particular design can reach finality where we're like, that's finished, and that it feels like it's got enough legs to get all the way to some preposterously smart intelligences running at ludicrous speeds, and the model would still remain the same.
Yeah, and it's I mean, there will be something that comes up. I mean,
There always is.
yeah, IPv4 was thought as the final solution, and it's like it didn't quite work. So we need
Yeah,
a new one.
look, well,
But we
I mean,
don't know that yet. But the thing is, we're still working, and these parsimonious is important here because the more offloading we do of complexity into the model, the better.
that's where it belongs, man.
This should be as simple as possible.
That's where it
And
belongs. So I
adding
don't know what you.
anything should be a big step. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. I don't know if so. We've got MCP for the model context protocol. You could almost encode what's been made here as a protocol of its own, like the agentic computer protocol or something. Like it's narrow enough that you could write a spec for it and be like, this is what the protocol is. You can back it with anything you like. You can back it with any Docker container. Your infrastructure only needs to support these basic commands. And that's it. That's the system. So yeah, so that's really the win that I come to you with is like it works. These functions, I'm like, yeah, I feel pretty good about that. First of all, I got them arranged in the right way. I feel the logical understanding that I have feels sound. Like I feel stable now. Before I was like, fuck, I'm not really sure. I know how it's supposed to go, but there was no unity or no symmetry about what I had designed. I was like, yeah, I'm doing it because I've iterated here. I'm doing it out of necessity. There's no like key understanding. Like I couldn't write the rules of the system down and there would be like 5 of them, you know, but I feel like I got that now with these function calls and the direction that they go in. And everything else becomes details after that. You know, it's like I could probably write a mermaid diagram of this model and be like, that's the thing. And then we can sort of stamp it and be like, version 1. So I'm feeling pretty good about that. In terms of how much is working, I got it working with the internal calls, so the agent to agent communication. I was very pleased with the testing model that I made for that, which was to I busted it because I was doing more work before you came. So earlier today, things were going just fine. So here is where I make 2 fixtures where these are like fake agents that do, because I got a really fun way of injecting the dependencies within it, so I can spin up a fake agent entirely in RAM with no like network socket, no database, no file system, no anything, but the code paths are all identical. So
and it's a faithful clone.
Mock. A mock.
Doppelganger. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a very faithful testing fixture. And so it what I've done here is I've made one, and which represents agent A, and then the second one, agent B, and then I've connected up in RAM what would normally be a web call is going to agent A in RAM. So this way I've been able to simulate the agent-to-agent communication between two agents so that I know that that works.
Oh, that's interesting. You could extend that to an arbitrary number of agents, presumably.
Yeah, but in terms of testing, it doesn't.
You're
It doesn't.
unit testing it, actually.
Yeah, it doesn't really add much, and because where I'm really trying to get to is once we have the agents working, see all of this code goes with the agent, so I can run up an agent and be like, hey, your code is at this location. Why did you do this? Or why is there a fault here or there? Or, hey, agent, make some code changes and then stuff them in a new agent, a slave agent that you make that's disposable, and then run it for faults, get back the logs, and then kill it. So I'm really just trying to get off my computer, because once we're actually in agent land, solving the problems of what's happening inside the agents becomes a lot easier, because Codex itself is sitting there on the agent, being able to edit the code and mess with the code while it's experiencing the faults in the infrastructure in full. And that's the where I'm trying to get to.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. And I was talking about something slightly different, or
Sorry, did I just rant for a
adjacent.
bunch about the wrong direction?
No.
Um,
What you said was right. But what I was thinking about is if you have any kind of complex multi-agent system with a process, you need guardrails onto that, because it's already been demonstrated that weirdness in inputs, kind of injecting stuff even inside of pictures, has been
right,
shown to work.
right,
And so you want guardrails on that. Those guardrails are really about the whole process. So you could have every unit doing the right thing. You could have two agents doing the right thing, but overall is doing the wrong thing. So having some form of it's not even unit testing, because it's not a unit, but this is what was intended, this overall process
yeah,
to do, and here are the guardrails.
yeah. So just multiple levels, I guess.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so that's looking pretty good. And what I'm doing now is I lightly got the repos commands hooked up,
Hmm.
and I think I got the agent commands hooked up. I just rolled that back, so I better just pop that so I don't fucking forget about it. Yeah, I had got these pretty much working. They are remarkably simple, I realized. So this was the thing that like I was like doing my head in about. I was like, where do I send this thing? And then I send this packet here, and then I gotta do, and then I was like, wait. I got the file system. And it actually, the whole problem boiled down to just reading the file system, which sounds fucking like, why don't you do that first? But that's a good question. I don't have a defense. Anyway, we're here now, and
Did you just
and
have an argument with yourself there?
no, I was just saying that like it would be reasonable for you to ask me why didn't I, like, because it looks really simple when you just boil it down to reading and writing from the shared file system.
No,
Because
simple is really hard.
simple's so hard, dude. Like it's the hardest thing, right? So agent list, 4 lines. Before it was like an API call to fly, a list of the machines, a correlation between the running machines and the named machines, and it's like and then like I can't even test that because I like need Fly's infrastructure to be there to test it. But when I realized that actually everything you know how I just listed off those different types of things like repos, computers, agents, those non agent to agent communication pieces, those sort of meta communications, all of them can be boiled down to like very simple disk operations, like read this thing, write this thing, and one kick call, where a kick is telling the process that does the reconciliation between the on-disk desired state and the real-world hardware state. The kick tells it something changed, reconcile the hardware. And all of that complexity of those commands comes down to just write something to disk, kick the infrastructure, or notify the infrastructure. And then when the infrastructure runs, that's simple too. It just reads the disk, looks at what it last wrote to disk about the infrastructure, and then goes, oh, well, this is the smallest, simplest, quickest change to get to the planned state from the current state. And then it just...
It's a really interesting thing you're touching on, because it's been intuitive to good coders for decades, right? Fewer lines of code are better. That really is magnified when you're talking about codecs and getting an AI to do it, because the smaller the context, the more it can understand. And
or the firmer it understands it.
Yeah, there's almost a metric here, isn't it? Given a certain process with tests to verify that the process is being carried out, the code base that is smaller is better.
Yeah, pretty much.
Which is why I've always railed against Microsoft with their 4 gig download for a spreadsheet where all I want to do is add up a few numbers. It's like...
Right? You're like, what are you doing in there?
What's in there?
Yeah, and more importantly, what did you not check thoroughly enough to be able to make it small? Like,
right.
You know, like,
it's a bit like the SpaceX thing, isn't it? The best unit is the one you delete, or, best.
Right? The best part is no part.
Component. Yeah.
The best software is no software. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that another great enabler of simplicity is this concept we have of using Git as the file system, because the file system you would typically say was not reliable enough, or you've really shoved a lot of the complexity back to having failover NFS servers and quorums and all that stuff. But having Git with consensus means that we can actually have very, very strongly consistent file storage. And if you have consistent file storage, then you're gonna be able to bring your hardware into line with it reliably. Because if the file server doesn't die, and if the infrastructure management agents are redundant, so there's more than one, you're gonna eventually, you may have to try a couple of times under fault. Eventually your hardware's gonna match what your disk said. And there's an example of where having agents in charge of what would traditionally be a computer program's job, like spinning up the virtual machine that manages the hardware that manages the virtual machines. Typically that would be a program. But if you made that an agent and it just had MCP tools that it could go dial into servers and stuff like that. It can deal with the
faults without even telling you. It just takes a bit longer. Yeah. A few more tokens. Yeah.
A few more tokens, but does it matter? Like, first of all, it's going to be a more ductile response. Like, it's going to be a measured, reasoned response. It's one that's easier to debug as well in the end, because you're like, well, this happened, and then you decided what, sorry? And then you're like, yeah, but my prompt. And then, right, then it's going to fix. Yeah. So it means that a piece of infrastructure that is managed by a collection of AIs that are taking reasonable, gradual steps is very light to code, very adaptive, and also future-proof, because you're like, okay, guys, I need this new configuration. And they're like, tell us, send us a picture, draw us a whiteboard. You're like, I need you to reconfigure like this. This is called the Linebacker format number 5, and it's like these things just compose. Normally that would be like, okay, we're gonna need a fucking project plan here. All right, so who's writing this bit of code? Okay, who's on this module? I don't know if we've hit on something good here, but assigning every single thing to be an AI agent, including the infrastructure management, saves a lot of complexity, man, like a wild amount.
But also, in terms of robustness, it does feel a bit like going from like the Aloha network protocol to TCP/IP. It's like,
it's hardy. It feels hardy.
Yeah.
And it
when was the
feels
last time the internet crashed. It's like, no, because it's really robust and it's quite simple. It's not that hard to understand.
Yeah. So, that's where it's at. So the thing that what I was like trying to get going desperately before you turned up was I just need the one command, which is start agent. I just need like this command, agent create, to be working, and then you can fire it up and then talk to it.
Oh god, you're teasing now. Oh my god, so
right?
close.
That's where that's where we're at.
And well, the repos thing as well. I'm very.
Oh yeah. So how I've modeled repos is that if you look at repos, it really only just makes an empty folder.
Yeah.
And the purpose of that, why it's so simple, is that because I want to manage the repos folder, so it will like make the repo folder and assign the right permissions. And I haven't done permissions here because that whole piece hasn't been done, but what it will do is it will assign the permissions to one of the GitHub or one of the Git repo services agents, because a service in a computer appears to be a specification of the permissions that a collection of agents have, what host image, so what Docker image they're going to run, what agent.toml they're going to run, and what their sysprompt is going to be. And once you've got those things, bearing in mind the important one there is permissions, then you can provide them as a named service, so that another agent can be like, okay, I want to start a repo. Okay, it would go and browse the catalog of services that the computer it's on supplies. One of those services is the Git repo management. So then it would use the plain text ATAC line to say, hey, I need this repo. It's at this location, blah, 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 blah. And then
what's ATAP? And it's important for me to know.
Agent to agent communication.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah. Okay. I thought it was ATAC.
Isn't that what I said? ATAC?
I heard it as ATAP. Anyway, doesn't matter. Okay. Yeah.
So it goes, the key there is that the complexity of managing the Git repo, even though programmatically attainable or possible, making it just like super dumb commands. In fact, my plan is to just give it the Git executable and the manual and be like, you're the Git guy. And then because the permissions constrain it, it's like your sysprompt says you manage Git repos. If it's not to do with Git repos, don't do it. And then the permissions on the file system mean that it can only work on those folders. It can't like make a new file in the base of the folders, because that would be dirty, you know. So it can only really do Git operations, but it was what would otherwise be a bit of a fucking laborious piece of software to make. But now here's this thing. and that's my plan. And I just sort of hope that that's like, I feel weird about it because I'm like, I don't really have another plan, and I
No,
think that one's good enough.
that sounds right because you want to, for example, when you create an agent uh, is essentially a repo with a computer that it can run on and respond back to, be talked to. That agent has a certain repo structure, includes an agent toml and so on. And so you want an agent, create agent.toml somewhere that knows that you need an agent toml, takes in the natural language information coming in, saying, well, what does this agent do? It creates Rob and Josh. Okay, bam. All right. So now we've got we've got the agent toml pointing to the prompt, which we were talking about as being split off. So you could always go in there and nudge it. But it creates everything you want. Now, it might be the case in the future that that structure is fine, but there's another structure that does another thing, which is quite useful. So what are the primitives? Just create an empty repo. And then you create another agent that populates that using the primitives.
Yeah. So the issue that raises though is that now computers need to have a catalog of services. And I don't think that's unreasonable because it's sort of like, first of all, you
No,
have to have a catalog of agents so that you know what you can pull from anyway.
yeah, no, it's more than not unreasonable. I think it's actually necessary. If you think about um, an instance of running this where the perimeter is really important and you don't want anything going outside the perimeter, say.
Yeah, but then now this needs to pervade into the sysprompt, right? Because the sysprompt, at some agents that are given a task that's going to need some services, they need to be told about using the search for services function. And they also need to be told to favor it. Like, you don't want an agent booting up and thinking that kind of half reasonably it's going to use the Git executable itself because it has it on hand and you did ask for a repo.
Yeah,
So
sure. And but also you can I mean that's discovery. We've talked about discovery quite a lot. Discovery list is like, I trust these agents to do this for me. If what I'm
yeah,
asking for can be done with that, then do one of
yeah.
those.
So it's
Don't
it's
reinvent it.
kind of like saying that, okay, we're going all in on patterns here, but a computer is actually just a type of pattern. It's special in that it has repos in it, but ultimately the services within the computer are just agentic patterns. And so any agent that you want to be service aware needs to be given a map of the service topology so it knows how to find and talk to different services. So that when you put an agent in an arbitrary topology, some of the agents should be given access to the topological map so that they can do discovery, searching, and things like that too. So it doesn't feel too, it feels complex but not unnecessary and not generic. Like it doesn't,
Wouldn't
it's
that be
not
some
special.
kind of
It's not special
that?
to computers.
Yeah, but that'd be some kind of privileged agent who you ask, "Hey, I want to do this. Is there a service already existing, or do I need to create an agent?" And I come back saying, "Oh, we've got one of those. Here, use that."
Oh, so you're
Um,
saying instead of making it a call like search services or read service, it's really just there's this one agent that knows about all the stuff. Talk
yeah,
to that agent.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
that's so much better. That's so easy.
And then if it comes back saying, "I don't have a service for that,"
Right.
the agent
Right,
who
because
asked for
then
it,
we can work on making that agent very good. It's only got one role, so the fact that it got asked anyway narrows down a hell of a lot what it's supposed to do next. And it's
yeah,
like they're like, "Hey, I need to clone a Git repo," and it's like, "Sure, I've got a service for that. You should call this service."
Yeah.
And so,
Yeah.
but then I've introduced the concept of a service. But I wanted to talk about that a little bit because I think that a service, I need a way to represent any of these agents. The concept of you can send your request to anything like when you use round robin DNS, right? You look like when you look
Mhm.
up google.com, it'll give you randomly a bunch of IPs that you can use depending, it just randomly gives them out to you, and that's how they spread the load, right? So it's not like one
Mhm.
computer. But
Mhm.
we need the same thing for a service, because when you talk to an agent, yeah, you're talking direct to the agent. But when you're talking to a service, you might not want one agent handling all the inbound service calls. So you need the opportunity for some kind of load balancing to occur.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. Of course, you're right. Um, hmm. Um, isn't that just a load balancer agent? It's like, uh,
No, no, that your trick got you so far, my friend. But that just you can't solve the bottleneck by putting another bottle in there. It's still a bottleneck.
yeah. That's bolts all the way down. Yeah, right.
Yeah, so I think it's just simply
Hmm.
a special kind of agent name in the agents folder, where when you look up that name, it it's like a symlink, but it's a packed symlink. Like it's a directory of agents instead of a, a single agent. And
Okay.
then what I was going to also do was incorporate this other concept of a landing agent as well. So right now, when you come into agentic.dreamcatcher, you get the landing agent because you haven't specified your agent. You tried to come in at the computer level and there was nothing there for you. And so the default behavior is I'm going to fire up a landing agent and off you go. But the same concept can be done for services where you say that if you come at this service, you're going to get a new agent every time you come in, or you're going to get one of the existing ones, or you're going to get an existing one up to some configurable load point, and then you're going to get a new one. And that's where it starts to get like you can use intelligence within the agents that are providing the service, where they will decide when they're too busy, and they'll like manage their scaling. Like they'll be like, okay, we need to make another one, and now we need to make another one, and all
Mm-hmm.
that, right? And so, whilst that's a little bit complicated, I feel like that's the end of the things that you need. Like, because once you can take an arbitrarily sized load, right, where you're like, well, it's a service. It could have 1,000 agents that were all considered equivalent purveyors of the service. You're safe then. You can take unlimited load.
Yeah, yeah. So when you ask for a service, there's a process there which is like, yeah, we can do that. We've got a number of agents that do that. They're all
Yep.
busy. Let's make another one,
Yeah, that's right. That's right. That's right.
and then I'll send you back that. Talk to that one.
Yeah.
Or we've got a number of agents, and this one's idle.
Yeah.
Go to
Or it
that one.
might be like it would oh fuck. Sorry, I just spilled an empty Coke can, which you might think is hard, but there's always that little residue that you can't bloody well get. And then
Well,
if you,
technically speaking, I don't think you can spill an empty anything.
well, then it wasn't empty, was it? But colloquial language being what it is, I would have called it empty. So now the issue, one of the issues is that you get this. Hang on, let me gather myself after my accent. They would also be able to reap themselves because they might tear themselves down. So this is not the same as the hardware going up and down. This is talking about the agent folder on the computer that persists. In a services arrangement, they might decide that it's time to delete agents to save disk space or save
Well, yeah,
whatever.
but that's their own business, not the agent that's calling.
Yeah, yeah. So
Oh man, can you give me 2 minutes?
sure.
There's a knock at the door. Just
Oh
need to
dear.
see what's going on.
Okay.
Be right back.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. I'm back.
You're back. Yeah, so that was it. You sound like you like that idea, so that's good.
Yeah, I do.
We'll
I mean, there's some complexity in there, though.
yeah,
We
but
haven't
it's
touched on.
almost like there's unavoidable complexity in some types of services. Like you have to be able to provide scalability of agents and like the concept of equivalence of an agent.
Yeah,
Otherwise, it's a chokeable system.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. I
and
mean,
so
that's the same problem has been solved with DNS, as you were mentioning. Even though that's a hierarchy that ultimately, goes to, beefy machines. I'm not entirely sure they solved it well enough, but it does work.
it does work, man. Um, so the one of the issues that popped up was the rule I was about to make was to say that there's no changing the agents while they're running. So that means no adding a new repo or no changing the repo that the agent is working on or the agent toml or the prompt file, no changing that while the agent's running. If you want to change it, you got to halt the agent and then fiddle with it.
That seems sensible. And obviously, an agent can have access to multiple repos, so it can be writing out stuff, but just don't
Yeah.
write over yourself.
Or change it from the outside was the rule, because it also appeared like something you might like is the ability to clone or fork an agent.
Mm-hmm.
So if were in a conversation with an agent and it got to a certain point and you wanted to roll back and then start again or explore like 10 different pathways from here, you would use the clone agent function to copy the conversation history and all that, and then start a new instance of an agent using that cloned data.
Yeah, I mean that seems perfectly sensible.
Right.
You don't want to be doing, brain surgery on yourself.
No, and I the reason I have for that, and I'm open to change it. It was more just it's easy for me to do, so I think easy wins at the moment until there's like a need.
Yeah, but it also adds some kind of certainty because
Well,
you
yeah,
don't.
because you can't really troubleshoot an agent if the environment it was running on changed halfway through. Like if you,
Yeah.
like, there's no good test where you're like you got to here and then the sys prompt was edited, and then it did this other thing, and you're like, well, fuck,
Yeah,
like, what do you?
is that right?
How
It's
like how
what is
often do you
doing
plan to do that?
Yeah, no, the complexity of that is outrageous. So it seems like a no-brainer, that one.
Okay.
There's a pun there somewhere, but I'm not going to seek it.
Put the pun down. So that feels like a full solution. What I pray for is the ability to use these agents to take this system and rationalize it, or like abstract it to be a collection of, say, mermaid diagrams, and then
Yes.
I expect the bots to grind on it, to reduce it, to simplify it, to ask me a small number of very parsimonious questions and be like, why did you not do it this way? And then it's like, here's the template. I hand wrote the first one, but the next one ought to be AI generated, where it's like got great reasons for rule count reduction. It's like less is better, simple is better. This feature, we had to have it. In the old way, if we added it, it added like all these extra rules. But in this new system, there's less rules overall, and you got this extra feature. So that's why we're changing.
Yes, and interesting enough, I've been looking at that same pattern that you just described, and yesterday I ran that pattern, and it worked exceptionally well.
What
So
pattern?
if you don't mind a rabbit hole, or we can continue, and I can tell you about the rabbit hole later. But yes, that pattern does work
What pattern?
very well. Where you take the existing set of data, and what I did was, this was the pharmacy thing, so this is all their data that they've got. Then I had a conversation with a person skilled about what the process should be. It produced, the AI produced from the conversation and the data, mermaid chart of the process, and then I worked with the AI on the mermaid chart and the data and saying how should we improve that, and it got better really quite quickly,
Oh,
including
I see.
deleting some data forms that was like, well, you can squish that down because you can derive the information in this form from the previous form, so why is that form there?
Right, right. And again, it's like it still feels turn-based. Like the bots should be going through that in detail on their own, but I also don't want them to just come up with some questions to ask me. I want them to come up with some questions to ask themselves, attempt to answer the question, make a new version, and then to come back to me. Like, don't just, you know what I mean? Like, I'm starting to feel like it's empty when it just asks me
Well,
question. It's like you
I,
just,
again, sorry to essentially agree with you for once, but I was kind of standing in for that bot that prods
mm,
again and again and
mm,
again, because I was using single thread,
yeah,
but it was a very well informed and rich thread.
right,
So I was performing the role of the agent that would go, okay, well, how about this? How about that? How about that? And the stuff I was asking was really quite simplistic, well within an agent to figure out. And what came back was a remarkably clean and parsimonious process diagram for what was previously an incredibly convoluted and opaque process. And it, as I said, this was just, well, it wasn't even yesterday, it was yesterday afternoon, so half a day
right,
it took. So it's a quite powerful pattern,
right.
pointing an agent at a process with the information about what that process is and the data that it's using, improves the process quickly.
Right. Okay.
I can share details with you, but the details are not important. The overview is basically saying what you just described.
Right.
I did yesterday, and it's like worked really well.
So what then? What now? Were there any other questions about the code, or any areas that I haven't touched on that you're like, what about doing this? Or
No, because really it comes down to, if you've got the repos and the structure, the how to create an agent is something we need to um, prompt.
Right.
The tooling, I absolutely agree with where you're going with this. Keep it as small and
Yeah.
unitary as possible, and then offload the complexity to the agent because it's small and parsimonious. It totally understands it, and it's like, okay,
Yeah.
I'm going to wire it up this way.
Yeah. Okay. And then we can figure out how to add things like cron jobs, repeat jobs. We'll need a place to catalog patterns like the pro call, where you're like, okay, work really hard, come up with, don't waste our tokens, come up with a great question for pro.
Yeah, yeah. Although the router inside of OpenAI does a pretty good job of that at the moment.
Nah,
There's a few keywords.
nah,
Like
that's
think
absolutely
deeply, or
nothing to do with like, we want it to grind. Like, we want multiple agents to be hammering away to assemble when to make the pro level call and to produce the question for pro. Like, it should be like a 2-page
oh
question with background context assembled to be like,
yes, yes, exactly. But the point I'm making is, you can ask, you can even though they've got the router in their certain keywords, you can get it to use a certain level of their agent background through the router quite successfully. And so if I was to go, take a step back, think deeply, then it's immediately going to go to pro. If I don't say that and I say I ask a question which is quite simple, then it go to 4.0 or one of the multi-modal.
yeah, but I feel like we have a misunderstanding or some sort of a difference here. Let me try and
Uh-huh.
close the gap. When you ask those questions and the router switches you,
Uh-huh.
it provides no extra information to the model that is being summoned at all.
Depending on how you use it. So I quite often ask simple questions in order to get a question. It's like, how could I make this more exact? What have I missed out? And so on. And that'll be a lower level model. And then the question I get at the end, I say, okay, now think deeply about that last question. And then I'll go up to pro. And then China take 10 minutes perhaps, come back with a really interesting answer. The point I'm making is the routing seems to be something that the AI companies are heading towards anyway. How to force it in is one thing, but the other thing is the process. You start off by asking what the question is. It's like, here's my starter for 10. This is a shitty question. How do I refine that question to make it more exact? Here's my intent. And then you go through a few cycles, the question gets tighter and tighter and tighter and tighter, and then you go, okay, think deeply about that question. And then it goes
Right, right.
pro.
So that job of generating the pro question should be much more agentic, much more.
Yeah, again, I'm effectively taking the place of an AI in that system.
Yeah,
There's no reason I need to do that.
yeah. Right, right, right.
But for now, I am. And it's like, okay, so this is how you do it. And also, then there's the crazy, turtles all the way down, where it's like, well, we get an agent to look at the process of creating a question and improve that agent and so on. And it's
It really is
quite
agents all the way down, though. So yeah, that's sort of where
okay.
we're going.
So I've got just to table these two things.
Okay.
I still don't have my screen share
Oh, you don't have
working.
screen share. Okay, do you want me
No.
to share something for you?
Well, it's going to be difficult because I was going to talk about two things. The first one is an interesting paper, which I think I don't know what to make of it yet, but it seems really interesting, which is the DeepSeek OCR piece that's
Yeah,
out
that
over.
looked interesting. Okay. So how do we? Why don't you have your screen?
Oh, because I haven't gone and tried to get rid of the wrong ID on this. I think that's
Oh,
definitely it,
dude,
but I haven't
making men,
gone
buddy.
back.
You gotta
I
maintain.
know,
You gotta
too busy.
maintain.
I'm sawing down the tree, not sharpening a saw. I know.
Gotta maintain.
Yeah. And
Um,
the second thing is just a bit of I guess a bit of a fanboy thing about Atlas. Um, I think Atlas changes everything in terms of how people interact with, the web. It has been a quite astounding experience.
really?
Yeah, and I very rarely, give superlatives, but it's like I've been using Chrome for, I don't know, 12 years, something like that. I don't know how long, a
Hmm.
long time.
Hmm.
And it's like, nah, okay, Atlas is now my default. Go to that.
Right.
And the stuff I've been using it for has been, it's like now a 10x upgrade.
Right. Can I play that
Um,
video that you sent me?
yeah, not the OK Go one. That was me being a bit frivolous, but that's what it felt like yesterday because I had a great AI experience yesterday. So I found the video with me just describing what the video was,
Right.
and then it's like, okay, let's talk about the video. It's like, oh, what is the latest video? And it's like, find the video, and now you'll see it does this kind of sparkly thing.
Sparkly thing.
I think it does a
Oh yeah, I
sparkly thing.
saw that in a demo. They're like
Yeah,
waves across your screen.
which links into the DeepSeek OCR piece as well, because I think what they're doing is they're taking the render and then interpreting the render about where to click, and then it's got control. You need to give control over it. You'll see that in a second. It asks, "Do you want me to take control?" I was like, "Yeah, sure." And then once it's got that, it's clicking around and finding the latest one, remembering what your intent is. There you go. Right,
Ooh,
sparkly,
sparkly.
sparkly, and it's like at any point you can say, "Stop, stop,"
Stop the sparkly.
and it's working it. It's not wildly quick. Obviously, I could have done it quicker myself, but that's not the point. It will get quicker, and maybe it'll be a website I don't know anything about.
Or it could be in another language in which you'll be way slower.
Right, exactly. Yeah. And it makes a couple mistakes, and it goes back and going, right, is this the right one? Yep. Like, okay. And then it's like, this was an interesting thing. It's like now having found the latest video, it's like give me an exec summary, and then give me an exec summary. I never, I never give a rich question
Mm.
about that one, and so,
Mm.
but if you if you scroll back a bit, it was talking about right. They talked about
Yeah.
this,
Yeah.
but
Yeah. Yeah.
interestingly enough, as part of the exec summary, it also talked about channel. I never asked it to give me an exec summary of what the channel was, but
Yeah.
it remembered the context. Now, that is one example, and I've been using it for a couple of days now. And I'm using it for all sorts of things like, oh, right, okay, so I've read this, say it's a white paper on the browser, and it's like, that reminds me of something big, blah, 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 blah. can you go and find that vague thing that I can't actually quite remember where it is? And they go, oh, okay, it could be this, could be that. And it's like, oh, I think it might be that. And then you have a conversation in the right-hand panel, and then you go straight to the source, and then you can say, you can ask questions about the source. It's a different experience completely. It's previously it was hunt and peck, right?
Right.
Hunt through Google, and then you peck links, and is that right? No, back. Is that right? No, that's back. No, that's not right back. And then so I'm asking the wrong thing of the Google bar and so on. All that has been swept away because now you're having an in context discussion about what your original intent is, whereas previously your intent was in your head.
Right.
You've offloaded it to the browser, and the browser remembers for you, and it's like, and we'll ask you questions and clarify and search. Now, I know you're like a Windows guy, but it's coming soon.
I hate Windows.
I know, but I think you run Windows, don't you?
Yes, I do.
Yeah. So you're on the naughty seat for that. But it says it's coming soon. But you can ask questions about any website and in connection with any other idea which is poorly formed. You don't really quite know. It's like who else is thinking about this idea? I used it, for example, this morning to say, hey, what happened yesterday in the AI world? Can you search the web, bring me up some things? I will say yes or no, whether that's a good source or not. And it remembered what good sources are, and then it ran it again, and it only pulled from the good sources. And then it said, as I was saying, widen the search. And it got the gist of what a good source was, and so it didn't give any crappy little YouTube channels or anything like that, or blogs. It gave a kind of wider sense of what's going on. And then inside the browser, it was trivial to then say, right, okay, can you tell me what I should be interested in with what's going on? And it's like, oh, right, from everything, because it remembers your personal context. You seem to be working in AI, and you seem to be at the kind of pro level. So I'm going to give you just the tidbits. I'm going to ignore all the, we're all going to doom,
Yeah.
robots taking over. Going to ignore all that and give some really surprising papers, which is where I found DeepSeek OCR. So the experience is completely different and much, much richer. So a shout out, I'm a bit of a fanboy for Atlas.
All right.
It's a great tool. And the DeepSeek OCR thing is very interesting because the paper that Atlas pointed me at, I was reading, and I was going, okay, so tokens could be anything. Tokenization is.
Yeah, I think that
great,
shows
but
that DeepSeek is trying really hard to compress the models.
well, the
Like,
interesting thing is, I think they're doing it out of necessity, and I think
yeah,
that's a really healthy thing. They
it's
don't
almost
get
like the
access
sanctions
to
on them.
NVIDIA chips
The
as
sanctions
much.
on them is causing a different kind of innovation that may be more helpful, almost.
Yeah, 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 and
Like they have to do more with less, and that causes them to go down a very different trajectory than
yeah,
OpenAI.
yeah. I think it's really, really healthy what DeepSeek are doing out of necessity. I mean, ideally, they'd also want a $500 billion,
Yeah, but
NVIDIA
as we know,
data center.
money can flood you. Like it can be quite poisonous because you can be less likely to win because you had more money. It's almost a
Yeah, yeah. But the on the OCR thing, I was thinking about is so their argument is tokenization of words is wildly inefficient
right.
and loses a hell of a lot of context and uh, pictures. How a picture can speak 1,000 words and all that kind of thing. And it's like, yeah, there's a lot of context in a picture, but how would you tokenize in the same way as an LLM a picture? So this is not interpreting the picture itself, which is one thing that's already been done.
So
But
was it
it's
sort of like
using,
using the picture like a crafted embeddings thing where it's saying that,
yeah, yeah,
you know,
sort of,
like
yeah,
it painted a picture out of the words
yeah,
that was
yeah,
like a, yeah.
and it's so much more information rich. And then the white paper goes through, so you can read through it, and it's like, well, say if we just took an image of a written set of text, how
Mm,
much information would we lose? And it only dropped to 97% of the frontier models by
mm.
simply using images. And the training time on
Oh,
doing
wow.
images was a lot faster,
What? It's
and therefore,
faster to train on images than text.
yeah, isn't that wild? But also they had a couple tests which were really interesting about, okay, so you take an image, there's more information. So I was thinking to myself, there's you take memes, right?
Mm,
Memes are information packed, but text poor.
right.
There's not much text in that, but depending on, you get a picture of a guy sad, arrow to bad thing, happy, arrow to good thing. There's a lot of information there about who's the picture about, what's the words are, and so on, that you couldn't extract back into text. If you had to describe a meme, how many words would you need in order to fully describe
Yeah,
all
the
the
background.
social economic background and
Yeah.
why it's funny and that sort of thing? You can't do that.
Mm.
But by going pixel first, you can do that. Now, I think that there probably are there's a barrier to this in that you can't go completely text free because um, text still has a lot of very precise information. But when you're going into very rich information, like a video stream, then training on the pixel as a token as opposed to a word as a token,
Yeah.
not only is it faster to train, but it generates a better result if you still combine it with an LLM.
Hmm.
So that's where those guys are going, which I think is, I
That's
think that's going to
wild.
bear fruit.
Yeah,
Yeah,
well, that starts to be like how we experience the world, like a continual stream of images,
yeah.
and we're like interpreting that like all the time, like words and speech come after for us. We train on images first, tokens after.
Well, take this conversation, right? The reason we're in VR is there's, you know, I there are hand gestures I can do. There's information in there. However, when you take a transcript of this without the video, you're losing a lot of information. Yeah, exactly. And what they're saying is train the model on the at the pixel token level, and
Right,
then
right.
clag
And
on
then
the
right.
text, and then you
And
get
then
something
do
really
so teach it logic after you've taught it just raw image
right.
interpretation.
Yeah, I think
Mm.
it's going to be a really fruitful way, and it's fascinating to see how fast it was.
That
But
is
again,
awesome.
I think that comes down to the fact that they don't have as many GPUs as they'd like, and so
Yeah,
they're
it
having
almost
to,
causes something good to happen.
yeah.
So Maxwell,
So
again the question:
what
what
do
to
we
do?
do? Oh, I sent you over some.
Yeah, can you explain that a bit more?
Yeah. So if you go up, that's the DeepSeek one. Um, oh, I'm on the left-hand side, hasn't it? The P Africa thing was, um, yeah, that's just a business. Well,
So we can
no,
set up
that's
shop in a
not.
Freeport?
Yeah, it's something like a free port. So
Something like a
as
Freeport,
far
like
as
a
I
not Freeport?
understand, no, it's international economic zone is a preferential zone where you get taxed less and there's fewer barriers, legal barriers to dealing with other nations. And then it's a bit like setting up a opening a port with, like a firewall port with another country is just easier
Oh, I
to
see.
deal with them.
Right,
And
like a
these
DMZ and all that stuff.
a bit like that, yeah, yeah. And so if you can link up with other countries with similar items, but the interesting part of the conversation was, although you've got this increased bandwidth and ability to deal with other countries, which is a good thing,
Hmm.
the problem is the companies are still based in their relative nations. So now you've got two legal systems to reconcile. Not only have you got that, but those two legal systems change because parliaments love changing laws. And you've got the kind of the economic stance. And so what these guys are trying to do is to ease that route, and they're thinking about doing it manually. And then they contacted Smarlin, just going, sounds like something you can do with AI, and it's absolutely something you can do with AI. But also, I raised with him, a contract with two people in that situation, or two companies in that situation. Why not put the contract underneath an AI that is the diplomat between the two? And inside the contract, you say, we will do what the AI says because we've audited the AI ourselves. You just need to do that once, make yourself content that there's nothing weird going on there. And then it arbitrates based on the changing positions of each country, the changing economic, not socio-economic, economic situation, and the changing legal situation. In advance, or saying, right, okay, so the contract needs to be tweaked to do this, and both parties look to the AI saying, okay, right, I'm sending this over, how much should I pay? Like, well, tariffs have just gone up, you've agreed to keep the price equal, but also in the contract you've agreed to split the delta of any tariff increase, for example, therefore the price is up. And then it's like, that is a contractual obligation to follow the AI. And the interesting thing is, we got it really quickly. It was like,
So the special economic zone where the AI brokers deals rather than having to rely on people to broker them, or worse, people to understand them and figure out something that they both feel safe with, because they've got to comply with their rules and regulations in their home country, plus the special economic zone rules, and it gets complicated with low precedent.
Yeah, and not just broker, but also run the contract, because during the lifetime of the contract, things can change. And, if it changes in your country, but not the other country, what does that mean for the contract? You're going to have to, traditionally just agree in advance for, maybe a 2-year, 5-year contract. You're going to have to guess what it's going to be, but it might actually be onerous on one and for the other one. And it's like, well, we wanted the contract to keep on working for both. So let's have a dynamic contract that is run by an AI.
Okay.
So that was a very interesting one. That was the first time I kind of floated with someone who is a smart guy, but obviously doesn't know anything about what we've been talking about. The idea of ceding this kind of power to decide to an AI. And it seems that, well, I don't know, I've not checked, but I'm guessing it's going to be easier to cede control to an AI when you've got an agreement between two entities, as opposed to ceding to an AI for a single entity, because you could always just overrule it and so on. But you've got another one.
The balance,
agree.
right? Particularly, yeah. And if there's like a group of them, like a consortia.
Oh God, then it gets wildly expensive. I mean, what his plan was to get a lot of staff to. The other thing that
his plan was to get a lot of stuff. What? Finish, please. What?
Staff. A lot of staff to do that. What I've just talked about.
How many staff?
He didn't say, and he didn't know, but he was expecting it to be, quite a big
But are
legal
the staff
department.
able to make decisions, or are they simply interpreting?
They would be looking out for changes in law, interpreting that against each of the contracts. Oh, the other thing is his business is more than is the arbiter between companies, not the company itself. So he's expecting to stack as many of these companies as he possibly can, in order to take the weight of that work away from these guys. So
So to enable them to do fluid business, they would supply labor to handle all the administrative overhead for doing business in this way.
right, right, and he would want as many clients as in um, basically international contracts between two companies, as many of those as he possibly can handle. And he was thinking, okay, so we're going to need quite a large legal department. We're going to need one thing he brought up, which is very interesting, which was the use of OSINT in order to, and he was actually planning on doing this manually. It's like, well, what are the rumors around? Is the government going to go this way or that way? Are we going to have tariffs? We're not going to have
Oh,
tariffs.
right, like predicting.
Um,
And so, would
yeah.
the AI have any power, or would it be simply an interpreter?
Well, that's the question. I was saying, well, why not just allow the AI to make the decision and you write into the
Well,
contract
yeah, that
that
sounds
both
probably a
would
bit
agree.
hard to swallow right now, but you could make it easily that there was a manual authority that used the AI and referred to the AI and was the one that ultimately checked to make sure that it made sense and that there was an appeals process to anything. But it would be
Yeah,
about getting things moving fast, intelligently, um, and at
yeah,
very low
and with a
cost, right?
and with a far bigger footprint because an AI can troll far more
Mm.
OSINT than anyone can.
But at what point can you convince someone to use the AI as an arbiter when there's a dispute? So, like, act like a judge in a court where it's like, hey, I said this. No, you said.
I don't know. I raised with that, and he'd listened to everything else I was saying, and so what I don't know is whether that enthusiasm had a bit of momentum around it, and he moved into that, and he was going, yeah, that'd be fine. I'm not sure whether he actually had understood
Right. If you.
exactly. You're
Right.
now legally tied to the outcome
Yeah,
of
yeah,
the
the
output
outcome
of an
of this
AI.
bot, yeah. But I'm
Yeah,
sure that we could generate a system or show a system where we're like, well, we even the human process is infallible, is fallible, and that's why it has an appeals process. And so the
yeah,
AI, we can run it, we can do like adversarial systems that try to, find faults and interpret the problem in different ways, and the chance of a fault starts to get vanishingly small,
it
actually.
does. And the adversarial way of doing it is quite interesting. If you think about the diplomat as a more of a judge, then spin up your own AI and get it to put in arguments.
Mm.
Because there's nothing stopping you doing that, and the judge will be sitting there, and the other side may well do the same. Seems like it's a better judgment making regime than what would happen naturally in this case. Is you got a whole bunch of humans in it, and effectively this guy's wanting to be that arbiter, enabling this sort of thing, and then running the business of making sure it goes smoothly,
Mm.
so you can have a contract with someone in Rwanda from Kenya, for example, and you get some kind of stability around it, and that's kind of where he was going,
Stability.
or that he is
Right,
going.
and so how's everyone going to feel about the corruption aspect of it? Because you're not going to be able to do anything. Like, it seems much harder to have corrupt goings ons when
I
you've
don't
got
know.
an
We didn't
AI.
we didn't we didn't touch on that. I don't know
Mm.
on that one, but um,
So why? I mean, how keen are these guys for these kinds of systems? I mean, are they just excited about it, and like all the work we did with the oil companies, then you hit a wall and it's like, okay, now sign this thing or do
Well,
this.
this guy is quite a yeah, it's a medium-sized company. Um, I was trying to reverse engineer because I didn't get the details of it. You can't get company details in Kenya
Mm,
unless you're a Kenyan company, which is a bit weird. But
hmm,
I'm trying to reverse engineer it, and I reckon from what he was saying, he's at the moment probably got about 20 staff and about 10,000 people he represents inside of the various companies that he represents. So it's not small, but it's not large. So his decision making cycle is basically him. Um, I think it would be an interesting traceability to see if we can get the idea over to him. That's like, hey, right, use this system, build this agent, then give control over it. I don't know what his appetite would be to actually write it into the contract, saying we'll stand by what the AI says. It might be more nuanced. Don't know, but definitely the actual grind of uh, giving an honest and neutral um, set of answers to questions to both sides at the same time is
mm,
exactly what I was trying to replicate, only with people.
hmm,
So it's an interesting situation, though, that previously we were thinking about a company that is run by an AI, and I think a lot of people would be queasy about that one because it's like, well, can't we just like stay in control and not give away to the boss? But when you got two people, you kind of need a third to arbitrate, and it's like, well, we could make it a person, but then who chooses the person? I mean, what
mm.
company is going to do that? How about we
It
make
sounds
an
like
AI?
there's many paths to go into the AI in charge angle. Like
Hmm.
there's some places that need it more than others, and we should just pick anyone that works. I think is a good one.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like AI
But
enabled business is pretty dope. Like that's the future. And the sooner we
yeah,
can get in it, the sooner we can get to what comes next, which is someone else giving us a call about some
yeah.
bigger thing.
But in terms of a pattern, I thought that was quite an interesting one.
That is an interesting one
Um,
because it's needed and people are okay with it.
yeah, and if it's not an AI, then who is it that's going to
Yeah.
do it? Well, usually a judge. Well,
Yeah. And
if
then
you're
it
in one country and
kills.
you're in another one, which jurisdiction is that judge going
Right,
to be in?
right, right. That's even better because it's like you can't pick one or the other. So the independence matters. And then interestingly, the whole point of these special economic zones is to facilitate transactions. And now
Yeah,
you've gone and added this extra overhead of the complication of reconciling all the rules involved. So
yeah,
it's got a strong driver to have these things. Plus, they're also high tech and they want tech. So
yeah,
using it
yeah,
seems like a good thing. That's actually a really good one.
yeah. It's interesting, isn't it?
Mm,
It's almost like the base case or one to work up from, but
mm,
the need is there and the savings are real.
mm. Okay.
So
So again, no problems that you've thought of that you couldn't solve with this system? Like once this
um,
console can do creating agents and interacting with agents, are
yeah,
do you
and
still think you're good to go?
storing persistent information on repos, sharing those repos so you can collaborate. We went through it last time. Anything I can think of at the moment uh, boils down to that.
Hmm.
It's like,
Okay.
uh, and I was thinking this the other day. It feels a lot like how a computer architecture works, anyway. So you got a CPU, you got somewhere to stash the storage, and you've got
Yep.
some kind of interconnection with other CPUs.
Process
Like,
inter process communication, the
yeah,
IPC.
yeah. So Don't answer. No, I can't think of anything that is coming across my desk that can be done with this. I continue to look.
Okay, well, shit. I guess, mate, I'll just carry the fuck on.
Pretty much.
I am pretty tired. Um, yeah, okay. Well, I mean, you saw where I'm at. It's,
Yeah.
I feel like I understand the system now.
Yeah.
I will plug in the bits, and then I guess the test for me is we should be able to use the bits to redesign the bits, or redesign what we're doing next, or redesign the cocoa layer, or, like, it should, the system doesn't work if it doesn't do these things.
Hmm.
And so that's what I'm nervous about, because those are hard things.
Yeah. Well, I'm thinking more at the kind of what could we do with this tool, um, you know, assuming that those hard things are done,
Mm,
and it's really quite expansive.
mm. All right, I'll stop recording, eh?
Yeah.